Hello, Michigan. This is Senator Jim Runstead with another one of our podcasts that are really, really informative, and you're really going to enjoy our guest today. Dr. Bernard Jennings out of Florida has done some fabulous work in trying to ensure that fathers are involved with the life of their kids. And this is one of maybe the biggest issue going on in the United States right now. Fatherlessness drives crime, it drives unemployment, it drives just sheer unhappiness among children. It is so destructive, and the good doctor has done a fabulous job in Florida. He got a bill passed that something similar I've tried to get passed in Michigan to no avail. So I'm going to be very interested to find out his background, how he accomplished that. And so with that, Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Senator Rumstead. I'm happy to be with you there in the state of Michigan for your constituents, and we're happy to be able to spread the news of the Good Dad Act across the nation to help as many states as possible pass this legislation.
Well, we're excited to hear what you did and how you did it, because I have a bill for presumptive shared parenting in Michigan. It's the second time I've introduced it. But why don't you give us a little bit of your background first off, and then we'll talk a little more specifically about the bill.
Well, personally, I'm a father. I'm a friend. I happen to be the chairman of the Board of Trustees of Florida Memorial University, a university here in South Florida. I'm certified by the Florida Supreme Court as a mediator. I've been mediating cases in and out of all 67 counties of Florida since 2011. And I'm an entrepreneur. And I have a situation here where I was in a relationship with somebody and we broke up. A few years later, we were raising a child together. And then I decided to marry someone else, and it didn't meet her fancy. She was upset. So she removed my child from school, moved him to another county, and didn't give me access for about a month. I tried to find my son and couldn't find him. I was able to get a hearing before a Miami-Dade County Court judge. And the judge informed me during that hearing that, Mr. Jennings, you're on the birth certificate. You have a DNA test that says that you're 99.1% presumptively the father, but you don't have any rights in the state of Florida because the law says that the mother is the natural born guardian of the child. After all this ordeal in that court hearing, it was a Zoom hearing, and I said to myself that I can't let this happen to anybody else. I was shut out from fathering my child after being very involved. So I wrote a proposal to the state legislature asking them to change the law that actually passed House and Senate unanimously.
Why don't you explain to the audience what precisely the law involves that you got passed?
Yeah. So the law in Florida is House Bill 775, called Ethan's Good Dad Act, named after my son. The legal name is Paternity After the Establishment of Responsibility. It's titled the Good Dad Act in short. And what it says that when a father steps up, he's already in the birth certificate. He's entitled to the same rights and responsibilities as the mother. It's very simple. It says that he is entitled to decision-making when it comes to healthcare, when it comes to religion, when it comes to education, and where the child would reside in his recreational activities. About a month later, another bill passed, 1301, which is a time-sharing bill that says, because of the Good Dad Act, since the father stepped up, he should have 50-50 timeshare with a rebuttable presumption for the mother. In the past, as you know, the father's going to court and he's trying to prove he's a good dad to no avail. Now they walk into the court with equality, with a presumption of equality, and she has to prove he's a bad dad. In that day in court, she has to prove that he's guilty of child molestation against that child, guilty of domestic violence against the child, or the mother in the presence of the child, and to what degree, and he's entitled to the 50-50 if that holds up. You have to show the order from another court that that's true what he's saying, not just conjecture and accusations of things. It has to be something solid. Otherwise, he's entitled to 50-50. I had 50-50 with my son after representing myself in court without an attorney, pro se, and I was able to have my son now since the law passed. I have him every Friday to Friday. He's now on the honor roll. He's a part of the 5,000 role models of excellence with his a group of young kids throughout the country by Congresswoman Frederica Wilson of the 24th Congressional District of Florida. And he's doing very well. He's well adjusted. And I've held a meeting with fathers all over the country every Tuesday night, 153 consecutive meetings since the law passed. And in these meetings, where I've appointed 16 team leaders across the country in different states, they come together. I invite a different attorney or a judge or some other practitioner to help guide these fathers through the court process and how they purport themselves so they can focus on the child and not the argument between them and their significant other ex, so that they can provide the best opportunity for their child to thrive.
I'm so excited to hear about your success in Florida because, candidly, in Michigan, I have run across an absolute buzzsaw. And I put this bill in, and I believe that was 2017, and was able to get it out of the Judiciary Committee and had the votes on the floor. And then the National Organization of Women told the Democrats, if you vote for this bill, it will be the #1 vote scored against you. And all the Democrats dropped off but one. This bill is way less, I would say, forceful than the bill you got passed in Florida. The shared parenting presumptive bill that I put forward simply said that when two loving, caring, fit parents either go through a divorce or in a situation where they weren't married, come before the court, that there is a presumption that they will be able to spend substantially equal amount of time with the children, assuming that it's possible. If one of them lives in another state, obviously that won't work, or if they live hundreds of miles apart. But assuming that the distance is workable, that the starting point would be that they would have substantially equal amount of time. Now, you'd have to work all those details out. It could be set up any number of ways, weekends and, extra time here or there, but that would be the starting point. It could be undone with a preponderance of the evidence of any evidence that the judge felt was reliable in terms of domestic violence or anything like that. So if there was no evidence at all of domestic violence and one of the parties claimed that there was domestic violence, and the judge said, I think 50% more likely that there is domestic violence, I undo the presumption. It was so weak, lukewarm, that we weakened it from clear and convincing evidence down to preponderance of the evidence to weaken it enough to get the support of the domestic violence groups and also of the judiciary. The judiciary remained opposed all the way through. And it's unfortunate that a bill that we did polling, and we did accurate polling. It wasn't a push poll. We worked at the polling operation to make sure that this is completely objective. And 83% of the people polled in Michigan supported the concept. When they heard the provisions, 78% of the people in Michigan supported the concept. And yet, stalled, couldn't get it through. And just very, very discouraging. That's why I'm so pleased to talk to you. I've introduced this bill again in the Judiciary Committee. It is Senate Bill 942. And I'll bet you the vast majority of the people listening to this says it's insane that you should have a situation where one party walks into the courtroom and automatically the court draws a whole bunch of stereotypes about the parties before they make a decision. And yet it's done in almost every case. We looked at, in county by county, we looked at all 83 counties. In almost every county, standard parenting time is every other weekend, 2 weeks in the summertime. It's improved now that you get part of a Wednesday. And that's it, and alternating holidays. So it's literally about an 85% of the time for one parent and 15 to 20 for the other. Rubber stamped through, boom, 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 in every case. It's something that makes all the sense in the world. It would make such a difference for the kids. It must be making a tremendous difference for the children in Florida.
Listen, I commend you for your efforts and your work to move this forward, and I encourage you not to give up, because I have a podcast that I do every Tuesday night where fathers come. It's about 25 to 30 come. Sometimes we go live on Facebook. And let me tell you, the attitude of these good men that come, there's some dads that are not doing what they're supposed to, but by and large, we have many good men out there that are trying to be a good father, to pay their responsible child support to the other parent, or even care for them on their own without having to go through the alienation, what's going on, All the statistics prove what you and I are talking about, that 81% of the men that are incarcerated, if you ask them, did they have a father in their home, they're going to tell you, no, they didn't. 71% of high school dropouts from a home where there was no father present. And as you know, in the streets of all parts of the country, you have a lot of young men that are getting approached by police officers and they're being disrespectful. I think it's because there's no authority in their home that they respect as a male figure to tell them how to comport themselves, no grandfather. So when they meet someone on the street or somewhere else, instead of seeing it as someone they should have deference for, they see it as a confrontation, and then they mouth off and they get in trouble rather than say, wait a minute, this is an adult speaking to me. Maybe listen to them and deal with this later on in court rather than having an argument with a stranger on the street, particularly a police officer. And so for these reasons, I think it's important that this law be embraced across the country. It's a turning point. I can tell you that the fathers that have gotten 50-50 now are doing great with their little boys and the little girls that come before the committee. We do this meeting every Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. And if anybody that's listening wants to be a part of the Good Dad Act committee, please go to our website at gooddadact.com and you can sign up for as being a committee member or a team leader in your state, and then get the help and support from coming to these meetings to talk to different professionals and lawyers to help a father teach him how to comport himself in court, how to deal with the issues of the child, and not focus on the disagreement between he and the significant other that are no longer together in the problem of the situation. I wrote this book, as you see in the background, called Ethan's Good Dad Act. It was #1 on Amazon in the first 2 months. Out of 3.7 million books, it's still in the top 100 after 2 years of writing the book. It tells my story and a story about 20 other dads that came to me at the beginning of this whole thing that I was going through, and it tells their story and how they've overcome and how the children are doing great and how it's making their family stronger. This is not against mothers. It's just to help dads come to the level playing field. A lot of women will tell you, listen, it's important for the dad to be in their life, because if the father's there, the mother gets an opportunity to excel in her education, maybe excel in her work environment, her career, and you have the love and of the other parent. Like, who better to take care of your child than someone else that made the child, that loves them, rather than dropping them off as a stranger's house or another relative's house. And as we talk about relatives, Senator Lunsfeld, when the child is separated from one parent, whether the mother or the father, the child loses the whole legacy of the other side of the family. What about the grandfather, the grandmother, the uncles, the aunts, the cousins? They don't get that love and support. It's time for their birthday to have all the family members coming together from both sides to teach the child how to be a better child, how to be a better young adult. They miss out on all of that. And I'm glad that you're going to help put an end to that in the state of Michigan for the people of Michigan. I've been to Michigan, Detroit, Michigan, visiting friends. It's a wonderful state. I'd love to come back and visit again. And we're doing this movement has started. We did it in Florida, Missouri, North Carolina, Tennessee, New Jersey. We just passed 50-50 in Mississippi. Alabama's next. And Georgia was a rough state to have a child, because they have legitimization and then paternity and then visitation. So it's very costly for dads. You go through a year of one issue of paternity, and then another year or so with visitation, depending if there are allegations of domestic violence. And it's just rough on the whole family, the child, as well as both parents.
Well, you are an amazing person. I've been dealing with this for 20 years, but I haven't heard this kind of success driven by one person. And I know there's others involved, but I mean, you're the catalyst to make this happen across the country. And you're so right. I talked with a lady today that is dealing with parental alienation in a case. And so in my bill, it just says the custodial, non-custodial parent, when two loving, caring, fit parents, so it could be applicable to both sides. But in our society, there's no doubt that there's more of a respect for motherhood than fatherhood. It's like the motherhood, that's an important part of a child's life. The dad is just nothing but a paycheck. He might as well just get out of here. That's the attitude. And it's interesting, when I was in the House, I'm now in the Senate, but when I was in the House, there was a colleague, and he and I were talking, and he's from Detroit, and he said, Jim, every single friend I have had growing up, every one of them is in prison or was in prison. He said, I was the only one who didn't go. He said, the difference between me and all of them, I was the only one who had a dad at home. It was that strong force of a father being involved that is such an important part of a child's upbringing. And in America, there's just seems to be no real understanding of the value and the importance of fathers, and we're seeing the consequence in all these pathologies in the country.
And it's important. God gave us woman and man for a reason, and not that a woman can't do a good job of raising a child, a single mother, but when a father who's a caring and loving, responsible father speaks to a child, and a mom speaks to a child who's loving and caring, and it's an issue of discipline, there's a different tonality that a father will take, and it resonates different. And not that it's wrong for either side, but it's just a different approach. And that's not true for everybody, but obviously, in general, it's the percentages that say the true value. And the society's losing out on the father in the home. Broken homes are rampant in every city, whether it's an inner city or a great neighborhood. It's something that needs to be affected. And men of all persuasion, black, white, Jewish, Chinese, Islamic, Asian, whatever it is, I've talked to men all over the place, and they're like, "Where were you 10 years ago? I went this and that. I lost my shirt and everything." We needed more time with our kid, and now my kid's 20 years old. They barely know me. Other countries face the same issue too. Australia, there's a big issue. I'm on about 13 Facebook pages. I'm talking to dads all over the world that have found me. I'm getting emails and phone calls and text messages helping these dads cope with the situation, to get the dads to focus not on the argument, but on their child, so that we can overcome this situation and be in their children's life, because children need their dads.
And you're right. I would say from what I can see, it seems to be a much bigger problem in the Western world than the rest of the globe. But studies have shown, too, that in general, and you were right to say, we're talking in generalities here, because the critics are all going to say, well, I know a case that's different than, okay, there's always exceptions, but we're talking in generalities. And what studies have shown is that both the mom and the dad play different roles in many respects. And they were looking at children in the park. I remember this study I read years ago. And the child is going to try to climb a tree and climb the monkey bars or something like that. And the mom's overwhelmingly say, Junior, Johnny, Susie, no. And the dad says, no, keep going. And it was like, so there's exceptions, and the critics are going to bring that up. But in general, on average, overwhelmingly, the dads were pushing the risks. The moms were mitigating the risks. So it's this balancing act that I think is built in naturally to make these two elements of child rearing that complement each other. And if you have one of those removed, it's not as good a situation for the child on average.
It's just like, the multi-swirl of our government. It's the House and the Senate. We don't always get along, but we bring it together at times and we get it right. And this is how parenting is. And then they come together with their ideas and decisions. The child's in the middle, and they come together and they work it out, and the child benefits.
You're absolutely correct. And the studies all bear out what we're saying. For the critics who haven't looked at the research, when you look at the results, particularly of fatherlessness in the United States, and more commonly now it's going across the entire West, these pathologies from, drug addiction, alcoholism, violence, going to prison, prostitution, just all these pathologies, the numbers that are correlated to fatherlessness is just staggering. It's so staggering you cannot ignore it. And so many fathers I've talked to, and some others, like I said, I talked to one just today, that have been carved out of the life of their children because the other party doesn't like the other parent, the other person who's should be a co-equal, as long as there's no domestic violence or anything like that. And yet, because they emotionally don't like the other person, they don't want that person involved. And it is so destructive to the children. The best situation is to have the mom and the dad involved, even if the mom and dad can't live together, if they can be involved in raising these kids, spending time with these kids, and like you outlined, that it's not just that mom and dad, it's this large extended family that's all cut out of the equation. It's such a devastating thing. It's so phenomenal what you have done in Florida. I'm going to be reaching out to you and find out how you did it. I ran across a buzzsaw. I worked for a year and a half on this. I traveled the entire state of Michigan. We spent money on all kinds of things to try to get people to understand the importance of this, and we couldn't get it out of the house. And so I'm excited to find out that this is being done in other states successfully. You're the person who I think I need to be talking to about how to achieve this. And we are coming down on the end of our show, but why don't you give us some final thoughts about basically anything you think we still need to know?
Well, I think to answer your question, what makes it successful is that you take it down to the basic rudimentaries. The actual legal name of the law is Parental Responsibility After the Determination of Paternity, Ethan's Good Bad Act. What it says that when a father steps up, he's already on the birth certificate. He signed the parental acknowledgement at the hospital, and he should have the same rights and responsibilities as the mother. What are rights? Rights to make decisions about education, rights to make decisions about religion, rights to make decisions about recreation. What are the responsibilities? Well, maybe those responsibilities are to pay child support and to care for the child, because he makes more money than the mom, that he should pay child support. He can pay a little something, not overly pay and not overexhaust himself that he can't even survive. So if we keep it basic, we won't offend anybody, and just let it be the basic thing that says that they both are equal under the law. And if anyone wants to know more about this, join the committee. Go to www.gooddadact.com. We meet every Tuesday night. It's a free Google Meet, and we broadcast it sometimes live on Facebook. You can go to my Facebook page, facebook.com/Bernard W.H. Jennings, or go to gooddadact.com for more information. And I want to thank you, Senator Runstead, again, because you're doing a fabulous job there and for the people of Michigan. And I encourage you to keep on. Don't give up. You know, for every no, there'll be a yes coming after that. Just be ready for it, okay? And I'll fly to Michigan to testify to help you out if you need me to.
This is such a big issue. It's the most important thing to most parents is their kids. And when you've lost contact with your kids, not because you've done anything wrong, you love the kids, but you just got cut out by the courts or cut out by the other parent, it is so devastating. So again, my bill is Senate Bill 942, that's in the Judiciary Committee. So I want to thank Dr. Bernard Jennings. This is his book. It's a great read. He's done some phenomenal work. We want to give all the support to his efforts all across the nation. He got these bills passed in Florida and several other states. We're going to be doing a lot of great things here in Michigan. We're going to need him to come to Michigan and help us get this bill over the line. So thank you again, Doctor.
Thank you, Senator Rumstead. I'll be there if you need me, and God bless the people of Michigan.